a girl who can't cry, a condition that turns tears into poison. Can you imagine the pain? But what she does to cope will leave you speechless. Prepare for a journey into resilience that challenges everything you think you know about strength and vulnerability. This is a story you won't forget. The bell rang, shattering the silence of the classroom. Sarah stood at the doorway, her heart racing. She felt the weight of every gaze on her, a mixture of curiosity and judgment. Today was different. Today, she would confront not just the whispers of her classmates, but the storm brewing inside her. As she entered, a flicker of fear danced in her chest. The laughter around her felt like a distant echo, a reminder of the normalcy she craved but could never quite grasp. She could feel the tightness in her throat. Tears threatened to spill, but they were no ordinary tears. They would burn her skin, leaving a trail of agony in their wake. Her eyes darted to the corner of the room, where the art supplies sat invitingly. Painting was her escape, her way of expressing emotions without the risk of pain. With each brushstroke, she crafted worlds where she could be free, where tears were simply colors on a canvas, not a source of torment. But today, the weight of unspoken words loomed heavy. Sarah's best friend, Mia, had stood by her side through countless battles, yet even she couldn't fully understand the storm brewing inside Sarah. With one deep breath, she steeled herself, determined to face whatever came next. The teacher entered, a smile plastered on her face, unaware of the silent struggle that enveloped the room. As the lesson began, Sarah's mind raced. Could she keep her emotions in check? Could she navigate this day without succumbing to the pain that awaited her? With every passing moment, the tension grew. Sarah felt the familiar heat rising within her. She closed her eyes, focusing on the rhythm of her breath. She would not let her body betray her today. She had learned to find strength in her vulnerability, to channel her feelings into something beautiful, even when everything felt like it was falling apart. But the true test was yet to come. There was a secret lurking beneath the surface, one that would change everything in ways she could never imagine. As the clock ticked down, Sarah braced herself for the unexpected, knowing that her story was just beginning. Before we dive deeper into Sarah's incredible journey, please subscribe to our channel. Your support means the world to us and helps bring inspiring stories like Sarah's to light. Together, we can share the voices that often go unheard. So, hit that subscribe button now. The classroom felt thick with tension as Sarah sat at her desk, her fingers nervously tracing the edge of her notebook. She could hear the whispers, the hushed tones of her classmates dissecting her existence. Why doesn't she just cry it out? One girl had said, her voice dripping with a mix of pity and contempt. Sarah clenched her jaw, willing the heat in her eyes to subside. It was a question that echoed through her mind, but the answer was a haunting reminder of her reality. Mia leaned over, sensing the storm brewing within her friend. "Ignore them, Sarah. They don't know what it's like," she whispered, her voice a lifeline in a sea of confusion. Sarah forced a smile, grateful for Mia's unwavering support. Yet the words felt like a double-edged sword. How could anyone understand? As the lesson progressed, The teacher's words became a blur. The laughter and chatter of her peers faded into a dull hum, replaced by the rapid thump of her heart. With every tick of the clock, Sarah felt a swell of emotions, frustration, sadness, and an overwhelming sense of isolation. She remembered the first time she had cried in front of her parents, the horrified looks on their faces as they witnessed the aftermath of her tears. The red welts that erupted on her cheeks were a living testament to her condition. "Why can't you just be normal?" her mom had said, her voice thick with concern. It hadn't been an accusation, but the words cut deeper than any knife. Sarah had learned to hide her feelings, to suppress the tears that begged for release. The battle had become one of survival, a daily fight against the very emotions that made her human. Lunch arrived, and the cafeteria buzzed with energy. Sarah and Mia found their usual spot at a corner table, a sanctuary away from the prying eyes. But even here, the whispers followed them. "Did you hear about Sarah? They say her tears are poisonous," a boy said, laughter punctuating his words. Sarah's heart sank. The rumor mill had churned again, twisting her reality into a grotesque version of the truth. "Don't listen to them," Mia said, her voice fierce. "They don't get it. They don't know what you're going through." But Sarah felt the weight of those words. What if they never would? She picked at her food, her appetite lost in the turmoil of her thoughts. As the chatter around her swelled, she caught snippets of conversations, each one a reminder of her isolation. "I heard she can't even cry during sad movies," another girl said, her tone laced with derision. "Imagine being so broken that you can't even express your feelings." The words pierced through Sarah like arrows, each one a reminder of her struggle. She felt a familiar pressure build in her chest, threatening to spill over. With a deep breath, she closed her eyes, trying to center herself. "Focus on the paint," she whispered to herself. "Let it flow like color on a canvas." The bell rang again, signaling the end of lunch, and they made their way back to class. As they walked, Sarah spotted a group of students gathered around a bulletin board, their voices animated. Curiosity piqued. She moved closer, catching snippets of conversation. "Can you believe she thinks she's an artist? What a joke." Mia's eyes widened in anger, but Sarah held her hand up, silencing her. "Let's go," she said, her voice steady. "They're not worth it." But inside, her emotions churned like a tempest. In art class, Sarah found solace in the colors that danced across her canvas. The brush in her hand became an extension of her emotions, a way to express what words could not. Each stroke was a release, a way to channel the pain she couldn't shed. But as she painted, she caught sight of Mia, who was watching her with a mix of admiration and concern. "Sarah, you're incredible," Mia said softly, her eyes shining with sincerity. "You have a gift." But the insecurity gnawed at Sarah. What if they don't see it that way? What if all they see is the girl who can't cry? "They see you," Mia insisted. "You're so much more than that." In that moment, Sarah realized that her journey wasn't just about battling her condition. It was about embracing who she was, despite it. She took a deep breath, letting the warmth of Mia's words wash over her. As the day unfolded, the weight of her emotions felt both heavy and liberating. Sarah knew she had to confront her classmates to find a way to share her truth, but with each passing moment, the fear of vulnerability loomed large. What if her words fell on deaf ears? What if they only saw her as an anomaly? As the final bell rang, signaling the end of the day, Sarah stood at the edge of the schoolyard, her heart pounding. She glanced at Mia, who nodded encouragingly. "You can do this," she whispered, but as Sarah stepped forward, an unexpected wave of doubt washed over her. The uncertainty of what lay ahead felt daunting. "What if I fail?" she muttered, her voice barely audible. "Then you try again," Mia said firmly, her gaze unwavering. "But you won't know unless you give it a shot." With a deep breath, Sarah squared her shoulders and approached the group of students who had been whispering about her. The world around her faded, and all she could hear was the steady rhythm of her heart. If this story is touching your heart, make sure to comment from where you are hearing this amazing story. As she opened her mouth to speak, she felt a flicker of hope igniting within her. This was her moment to rise, to speak her truth. No longer just the girl who couldn't cry, she was ready to show them the depth of her spirit, the strength of her resilience, and the beauty of her art. It was time for Sarah to paint her own story, one where she could be unapologetically herself. As Sarah stood before the group of students, the weight of her fears collided with a flicker of determination. She could hear her heart pounding in her ears, drowning out the whispers that had haunted her for so long. This was it, her moment to speak her truth. "Hey, everyone," she began, her voice trembling slightly as she gathered the courage to continue. "I know you've heard some things about me, about my tears. I want you to understand what it really means to be me." The group shifted, their laughter fading into an uneasy silence. Sarah could see the skepticism in their eyes, the doubt that lingered like a shadow. "I'm not broken," she continued, her voice gaining strength. "I'm just different. My tears are, well, they're a part of me, but they're also a source of pain." As she spoke, she noticed Mia standing a few steps behind her, a proud smile on her face. The warmth of her friend's support bolstered Sarah's confidence, but just as she felt the tide turning, an unexpected voice broke through. "Why don't you just take a pill or something?" one boy scoffed, rolling his eyes dismissively. "It's not that hard, right?" The question hung in the air, thick with ignorance. Sarah's heart sank. She had faced prejudice before, but this felt different. The laughter that followed his comment struck her like a blow. It was a reminder that some would never understand. But then something shifted within her. "I wish it were that simple," she replied, her voice steadier now. "It's not just about taking a pill. It's about learning to live with something no one else understands." The group remained silent, uncertainty etched on their faces. Sarah took a deep breath, feeling the familiar heat rise in her chest. "For years, I've hidden my emotions, afraid of what might happen if I let them out. But I'm tired of hiding. I'm here, and I deserve to be heard." Just as she thought she had their attention, another girl chimed in. "But you don't cry. How can you really feel anything?" In that moment, something inside Sarah snapped. "What if I told you that I feel everything?" she said, her voice rising with passion. I feel joy. I feel sadness. I feel anger. I just have to find different ways to express those feelings. It's not about the tears. It's about the heart behind them." The group exchanged glances, uncertainty mingling with curiosity. Sarah could see the wheels turning in their minds, and for the first time, she felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe they were starting to see her as more than just the girl who couldn't cry. But then, as if the universe had a twisted sense of humor, a sudden commotion erupted at the edge of the schoolyard. A group of students had gathered, their shouts echoing across the space. "What's going on?" Sarah wondered aloud, her focus shifting from the group of her peers to the scene unfolding nearby. Mia's eyes widened. "Let's check it out," she urged, pulling Sarah along with her. As they approached, the crowd parted, revealing a boy named Jake, the school's star athlete, sitting on the ground, clutching his ankle in pain. Sarah's heart raced. Jake had always been the embodiment of strength, a symbol of everything she wished she could be. But now, as he grimaced, she was struck by the vulnerability in his expression. "What happened?" Mia asked, rushing forward to help. "I think I twisted it during practice," Jake groaned, his voice strained. The crowd began to murmur, some giggling at the irony of the situation, a star athlete brought low by a simple misstep. As Sarah watched from the sidelines, she felt an unexpected surge of empathy. She understood what it was like to feel trapped in your own body, to be at the mercy of something you couldn't control. In that moment, she noticed a flicker of recognition in Jake's eyes as he scanned the crowd, landing on her. "Sarah," he called out, his voice strained but direct. "You've dealt with a lot. How do you manage it?" The question echoed in the air, and for a brief moment, Sarah felt the weight of the world on her shoulders. This was her chance to connect with someone else, to show that vulnerability wasn't a weakness, but a strength. "Honestly," she replied, stepping toward him, "I paint. I find a way to express what I can't say out loud, and I've learned that it's okay to feel things deeply, even if I can't cry." The crowd fell silent, captivated by her words. Jake's face softened, a hint of understanding dawning in his expression. "Maybe I need to find my own way to cope," he admitted, a hint of humility coloring his tone. As the crowd began to disperse, Sarah felt a shift in the atmosphere. Somehow, amidst the chaos, they had all found a common ground, an understanding that everyone, no matter how strong or seemingly invulnerable, had battles to fight. In that moment, Sarah realized that her journey wasn't just about her condition. It was about connecting with others, breaking down the walls of misunderstanding, and finding strength in vulnerability. The schoolyard buzzed with renewed energy as students began to share their own stories, each one a testament to the struggles they faced. Sarah's heart swelled with hope. Maybe, just maybe, they were all learning to embrace their own unique narratives. As she stood there, surrounded by her classmates, Sarah understood that this was her turning point. She might be the girl who couldn't cry, but she was also the girl who could inspire. With a newfound sense of purpose, she embraced the beautiful chaos around her, eager to paint her story with every shade of resilience, connection, and truth. "Let's keep talking about this," she said, her voice firm, igniting a spark of conversation that would carry them into the future. We all have our battles, but together we can find a way to express them. And as the sun set behind the school, casting a warm glow over the yard, Sarah knew she was no longer alone. She had found her voice, and in turn, she was helping others discover theirs. This was just the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with understanding, connection, and the powerful beauty of being unapologetically human. As the days turned into weeks, Sarah found herself at a crossroads. Each moment of courage she had summoned to share her truth had become a beacon of hope, not just for herself, but for her classmates as well. The whispers that once stung like bees began to fade, replaced by a sense of understanding that grew in the hearts of those around her. Yet, the real challenge lay ahead: how to maintain this fragile connection, this newfound vulnerability, without the crushing weight of fear creeping back in. In the weeks following her heartfelt speech, Sarah noticed a shift in the dynamics of her school life. Students approached her more often, not with ridicule, but with kindness. They wanted to learn about her condition, to understand her experience. Conversations bloomed like wildflowers in spring, each one a testament to the power of empathy. Sarah's voice had sparked a movement, creating ripples of awareness that spread far beyond the schoolyard. One afternoon, as she sat in art class, the teacher announced an upcoming exhibition showcasing students' work. "This is a chance for you all to express yourselves," she said, her eyes scanning the room. "Art can be a powerful way to share your stories." Sarah's heart raced. The thought of exposing her deepest feelings through her art was both exhilarating and terrifying. But as she looked at her classmates' excited faces, she felt the warmth of their support enveloping her like a soft blanket. This could be the moment where she truly revealed herself, not just as the girl who couldn't cry, but as an artist, a storyteller, and a friend. Determined, Sarah spent every spare moment in the art studio. She poured her heart onto the canvas, each stroke of the brush a release of pent-up emotions. She painted scenes of her struggles, her triumphs, and the bond she shared with Mia, her unwavering ally in this journey. The colors danced across the canvas, vibrant and alive, as if each hue carried a piece of her spirit. Yet, as the exhibition approached, doubt began to creep in. What if her classmates didn't see the beauty in her work? What if they only focused on her inability to cry? Sarah felt the familiar heat rising within her, the pressure building. She fought to hold on to the strength she had discovered. One evening, after a long day of painting, Sarah sat in her room, staring at her latest piece, a vibrant explosion of colors swirling together, depicting a storm at sea. It mirrored the chaos inside her. She felt like a ship caught in turbulent waters, desperately trying to navigate her emotions. It was then that her mom knocked gently on the door, entering with a soft smile. "Can I come in?" her mom asked. Sarah nodded, her heart swelling with love and gratitude. "I saw your painting," her mom said, her voice warm. "It's beautiful, Sarah. You've captured so much emotion." "But what if they don't understand?" Sarah murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. "What if they only see the girl who can't cry?" Her mom knelt beside her, taking her hands in hers. "You're so much more than that, sweetheart. You have a gift, a voice that deserves to be heard. No one can take that away from you." The sincerity in her mom's eyes washed over Sarah like a soothing balm. With renewed determination, she resolved to embrace her art as a means of connection rather than a barrier. The day of the exhibition arrived, and the school buzzed with excitement. The walls were adorned with art from students all over, each piece telling a unique story. Sarah stood nervously by her painting, her heart racing as classmates and teachers began to filter in. As they admired her work, Sarah felt a mixture of fear and anticipation. One by one, students approached her, their expressions reflecting genuine curiosity. "This is incredible," one girl exclaimed, her eyes wide with admiration. "How did you create this?" With each question, Sarah found her confidence growing. She shared her story, explaining how her art was a reflection of her journey, one that intertwined struggle with resilience. The more she spoke, the more she realized that her vulnerability was a source of strength, not weakness. Just as she began to feel at ease, Jake approached her, an appreciative smile on his face. "I've been thinking about what you said that day," he admitted. "You really inspired me to find my own outlet. I'm starting to explore photography." Sarah's heart swelled with pride. She had helped someone else see the beauty in their own vulnerabilities. In that moment, surrounded by her peers, she felt an overwhelming sense of belonging that she had longed for. The exhibition continued, laughter and chatter filling the air. As Sarah engaged with her classmates, she realized that they were no longer just observing her from a distance. They were stepping into her world, embracing her truth. The connection they forged was more profound than any words could express. As the evening drew to a close, Sarah stood before her painting, her heart full. She had shared her story, and in doing so, had invited others to share theirs. It was a moment of profound resolution, where the burden of isolation began to lift, replaced by a sense of community and understanding. The bell rang, signaling the end of the event, and Sarah felt a sense of closure wash over her. She was no longer just the girl who couldn't cry. She was an artist, a voice for those who felt unheard. And in that realization, she found a new kind of strength, one that came from embracing her truth and connecting with others. As she left the exhibition, Mia walked beside her, a proud smile lighting up her face. "You did it, Sarah. You showed them who you are." "Yeah," Sarah replied, her heart soaring. "And I think I've finally learned that my tears, even if they never fall, don't define me. It's the art I create and the connections I make that truly matter." If this story is touching your heart, make sure to subscribe for more incredible stories like this one. As they walked into the twilight, Sarah felt a sense of peace enveloping her. She had discovered the power of vulnerability, the beauty of connection, and the strength that comes from sharing one's truth. With a heart full of hope, she was ready to embrace whatever came next, knowing that she was no longer alone in her journey. This was just the beginning of a life filled with resilience, creativity, and the unwavering bonds of friendship.